Oh shit.
I will not cut that. I will not cut that. So everybody who first heard, oh shit, that is one of the two people I'm talking to today. And I'm very, very happy to have a person here with me whose musical output will surely send pleasurable tickles down your spine. And I also have her husband, Paul and Dave Lombardo. Thanks for joining the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
It is really wonderful to have you. To make it clear, we do this interview because 2 days ago, those two lovely people released their second full-length album, To Cross or To Burn, through Ipecac Records. So of course, we will go through a lot of stuff because it's a highly interesting record. But first of all, Dave, I've heard that you at some point also learned to play the guitar, the bass, and other stuff. Is that true for this record? Is that true?
Yes, it is. Yes.
How long did you own those skills then?
I've owned them for a while, but I haven't had the chance really to hone them in until recently. I do play those instruments, but I'm not that great. I'm self-taught. But this music has allowed me to really, expand my abilities and my drive and my interest in learning the instrument better. With the help of Paula, because she plays, piano as well as guitar. She has helped me hone that ability in. And it's been great. It's been a lot of fun. And I love it. I love it.
Then Paula, let me also ask vice versa. Does living with Dave also teach you something about rhythm, beats, stuff like that?
I think it does, yeah. I think just following his, since we've been together, I've seen him in so many different, with so many different bands and, from experimental, like John Zorn, where he's improvising, to like straight thrash, to something like Empire State Bastard, which really plays with time signatures and everything. I think I've really learned a lot, for sure. I think it helps with how I write as well.
And correct me if I'm wrong, didn't you also participate in that Empire State Bastard record by providing some vocals?
No, I didn't do any vocals at all, but I recorded Dave.
Yeah.
Yep, I was punching him in.
She was punching me in. It's like, no, let's go back. Let's punch me in here. And
and that teaches some things with drums, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
First of all, I think it's important to note that if I understood it correctly, Venamoris is mainly written by Paula, right?
Yes. She writes the lyrics and the melody. And then what we do is she'll come into the studio and she'll lay down like a basic piano melody and lay down the rough vocals. And then I go in there and we start creating different tracks and different sounds, synthesizer sounds. And then I record the drums. And then, it's kind of a process. It's quite the process. But we do it all ourselves. All the recording, everything's done here at home.
And Paula, when you write the songs or when you sketch out the skeleton of the songs, do you already have a certain thing in mind that Dave shall then later on provide, or are you totally open to his suggestions?
I'm totally open to his suggestions. What I've learned is I may come in with a specific melody that will remain, and but Dave, when he comes up with his drum part, when he writes that, it changes the song, sometimes drastically, like the feel that I would have had. And it takes me a second to adjust to it. So I think that the drums actually change the song quite a bit.
Yeah, what I do is when I listen to her melody and her, the vocal melody and the piano melody, it'll trigger an image in my mind. Like, for example, the song Burnt Paper. For me, when I first heard that song, or the first demo that she sent over was just piano and her singing into her her telephone. This song sounded to me very Celtic, very tribal. It was really interesting how it developed, and I didn't anticipate it turning out that way, but that's the direction it led to me. So the music and the vocals, her melody and the vocals, like always send like an image, and that's kind of where I take it. So that's why the songs, you hear how they are. For example, "Stay With Me." For some reason, I didn't want to add drums to that. I didn't do anything. And then at the last minute, I had the idea of adding the sound of an old radio being tuned in, then brought into the modern sound, how it just kind of flourishes like that. I don't know where these things come from. That's what she does to me musically, and inspires these images.
It's interesting that you mention the diversity of the songs indirectly, because that is also something that struck me when listening to the record. You have some Celtic or some pagan sounding songs. On the other hand, there are songs which sound up like straight industrial metal. Paula, is that something that you are also striving for when you flesh out the songs? A diversity?
I don't think so. I think that when I'm writing, I'm just writing very much what comes out in the middle of the night. That's typically when I write. When Dave is on tour, I have the floodgates open. I'm going through.
You can really say that you have to get up because he's snoring.
No. But I'm very comfortable with Dave being on tour. Or I was very comfortable with him being on tour. That's just part of our life. But after pandemic, it shifted a little bit for me. And his very first tour was hard, because he went out. It wasn't like a week. He was gone for over a month. And when you're alone with your thoughts, and in the middle of the night, everything comes out. It was just a little darker, very introspective, and I think that it just lent itself to these darker tones. And everything I was writing was all minor chords and everything. It was very, I would send it to Dave. He's like, "Where is this coming from?" And
I loved it. Yeah. I love minor chords. I love just a mysterious sound. And she was capturing it. We weren't done with the first record. The first record, we were working on the album cover while I was on tour. And she was sending me songs like one after the other. It's like, what is going on here? It's like, this is beautiful. This is amazing. I already have ideas. I can't wait to get home. As soon as I got home, not even 24 hours, we were already up in the studio developing the songs for the next record. So she's just, the more she writes, the better it is. And the better it gets too. She's really excelling.
So, Paula, you've already hinted at it. Basically, the start for Venamoris was the pandemic, right?
Yes, absolutely. Dave and I had been in a relationship for 10 years before the music ever made sense for us. I had left music, it was just, I didn't find joy in it anymore. And I really didn't feel like I had anything to say, And when the pandemic happened, obviously, Dave was home all of a sudden for long periods of time. And he was able to work with me on breaking down these walls that I had built up through the years. And, and then took me from that to, I was writing on guitar a lot. And he one day just said, "Hey, your piano is your primary instrument. Why don't you try to play your songs on that, see how it feels?" And it just went from there and started snowballing creatively. And so pandemic is where all of that happened.
So I see the introspective nature of the songs. That is definitely true. I mean, like, one only has to look at some of the track titles. We have "Stay With Me, Don't Leave Me Alone," like "In the Shadows," that's where I am. That is clear. But I mean, like you've also indirectly hinted at it, there's lots of different stuff going on. Is there any kind of like outside influence, people that influenced you while writing this?
For me, it's just life, past experiences, past pain, trauma, bad decisions, making peace with yourself and your choices through life. I really, a lot of stuff as you start to get older, all these things kind of run at you. Like, why did I do that? Why did I waste my time here? You just start getting, I think, at least for me, and I think it happens to you too, you just start to get introspective. And, so the songs were just written that way. Just my feelings, pen to paper. That's it. I should say pen to
that is a very good phrase. If I'm allowed, I will steal that for our little text of this.
You can steal it, but I already wrote that song too. Just not on this album.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Oh, so you're already working on new stuff?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We have well, there's a lot of music. This is really interesting. What happened with the first record, that was like an experiment. We just laid down all these different songs, different styles, we put it all this together, but we felt our niche. We kind of like found our niche. And on this current album that we have, there were 3 songs that we had to remove because they just didn't fit the feeling of the album. The album was taking on this kind of dark, almost like, gothic-y kind of, vibe. And those other songs, although they're still very Venamoris, they would have fit the first record, but not this one. So I think we're starting to find our kind of direction, our sound, and it's really cool to see all that happen. So now we have there's probably 15, 20 songs in the file. And but we are currently working on 3, correct? 3 or 4.
We're developing 3 right now.
We're developing 3.
Yeah. Which will be like new Venamoris songs. The other songs, we've decided we're still going to develop them. We signed a publishing deal last year, so we'll just be pitching those songs probably for publishing.
Instead of an album, they might end up, on a movie or a commercial or something like that,
It's interesting that you talk about the publishing deal, because the first record, Drown in Motion, which was released in 2023, was released by 31G, and now you're released by Ipecac. I mean, like, of course, those are friends of Dave, that's clear. But is that also a little bit of like an affair du cœur, like an affair of the heart, that you release your stuff through friends?
Well, I can tell you one thing, if it wasn't good.
Yeah, that's clear.
My friends would have said, no, Dave, my company doesn't have room for this, As soon as I played it for Justin over at Ipecac,
31G?
I'm sorry, 31G. Thank you. We were mixing we weren't mixing. We were mastering the recent Dead Cross.
Dead Cross record, yes. If anybody wants to know more about that, go to our archive. We spoke with Michael about it.
Oh, good.
Great.
And so we were mastering the Dead Cross record. And JP asked me, Dave, what are you doing now? What's going on? Oh, dude, you got to check this out. Paula and I are writing music. And he goes, what? I said, yeah, check it out. So we played it. And he said, dude, this is really good. I said, it is, right? I got Paula to sing, we're going to release it on CD Baby, we were just going to release it on just independent, underground, just for us, because since it took her so long to come out of this, to break out of the shell and starting to write, we really didn't want attention. We didn't want this, we just wanted to put it out for us and for family, for friends, whatever. And he said, he he just looked at me. His mouth dropped, and he said, "This is really beautiful, and this is so punk coming from Dave Lombardo. Playing this kind of music is against the grain in anything I've done." And when he said that, it kind of like, wow, that's really a cool perspective. I love that. And so he immediately agreed to release it. He said, "Dave, don't release it on these little platforms. It needs to be treated with respect." I said, "Wow, I never thought of that either." I said, "Thank you, JP." And he took it. And what ended up happening is when it came to the second record, because Ipecac turned down the first record. They say, "Dave, we don't know what to do with something like this." I don't know. They just didn't know. And they had a lot of albums coming out, and they just didn't have time for it. So they declined the first record, but JP picked it up. And then with the second record, what was funny is I didn't present it to Ipecac directly. I didn't send it to Patton. I didn't send it to Greg. I was communicating with Mark, who is the product manager for the company, and we were discussing with him what companies would be good to pitch something like this. And he started giving me ideas of record companies to pitch, and then he says, I said, no. He asked me, "Well, did you ever send this to Patton or Greg?" I said, "No, I didn't." And he was like, "Send it to him. Why aren't you sending it to him?" I said, "Well, I just didn't think that they would like it, And so as soon as I sent it to Patton and Greg, they said, "We love it. We want to put it out." And so here we are now with Ipecac, and then, working with a publishing company. We couldn't be in a better place as a music writing team, So we're very fortunate and grateful and, thankful.
Mm-hmm.
Paula, how did it make you feel when you indirectly got such a great response from Pearson?
From JP, I think he was just shocked that I could sing at all, because we'd known each other for quite a while,
since the beginning of Dead Cross.
Yeah,
she was helping manage and coordinate things for Dead Cross back when I first started the band in 2015 and 16. So that's how far back.
Yeah,
we know each other. Yeah. And so
I just like somebody like JP. I was shocked that he liked it. I'm always surprised with Dave's friends and bandmates how open-minded they are, and because I haven't always come across that in my life, and I would say like that, JP, like ultimate punk, right? He's like just amazing, and I was in shock that he actually even gave it a listen, even thought, "Hey, I want to check this out." And so it really meant a lot to me, and obviously I respect him a lot. And then, of course, with Ipecac, I think the biggest thing there is I have, again, a ton of respect for that label. I've worked with them indirectly with Dave, and I love them. I love what they put out. And then Patton is like one of the best vocalists of all time, in my opinion. And to know that
could
that
be,
he
maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. He might have a career.
He could do something with his voice,
Yeah, I think so. No, he's just brilliant, and he's another one that when Dave introduced me to Phantomas, it changed my brain. It like shifted. It took away boundaries for me. It just showed me like, hey, you don't always have to sing like this or write like that. Yeah. I just saw like just a whole nother freedom and fearlessness. So just knowing that he loved this album, and he kept texting Dave like, "Whoa, animal magnetism, what is going on?" Like all these random things.
Yeah, he was texting me as he was listening to the album, and we were at the grocery store, we were at the market, buying groceries, and we had to sit down and just take in Patton's comments while he was listening to the record, and she was very weepy. She was a bit emotional.
Yeah, it's a lot to have that person's opinion. It's a lot. So it was amazing.
I guess it's also a lot because, as you said, you in a way stepped away from making music yourself, right? So that even
exactly.
amplifies that.
It does, yeah. And if you've pursued music long enough, you've had a lot of rejection and a lot of negative comments. And so to have somebody that's so revered, it's just something. It's very validating. Just like when Dave wanted to work with me, I didn't push that. I was like, no, we shouldn't do this. I was worried. I was worried that his fan base might think, what are you doing? This doesn't have a lot of drums in it. And, where's metal, Dave? And so I was very concerned about that. I didn't want to do anything to damage him and his reputation in the music industry. And so I was a wreck over that. So just knowing that Dave wanted to move forward, it's just such a massive compliment. I'm very grateful.
Funny story. We were dating while I was still in Slayer. And she...
By the way, funny thing, I asked my wife, I told her that I would be interviewing you, and my wife doesn't like metal at all. And I said, like, okay, I'm interviewing the guy from a band that even you will know because the kids at your high school wore the shirt. And she was like, nah. And I was like, it's Slayer.
Oh.
Okay, I know that. So sorry, Dave, for interrupting. So when you were still in Slayer.
It's okay. No, what was funny was, I was in Slayer at the time. And she didn't want to share the music. I said, why don't you send me some of your demos that you recorded? No, I don't want to. No, come on, please. She finally sends music to me. I think she sent me like 4 or 5 demos. And I'll never forget sitting, at the desk in my hotel room and listening to the songs. I was like, wow, this is... her voice, it's really good. It's warm. It's not, she could sing, and the beauty of her talent is her ability. She has, I think she has perfect pitch. She doesn't think so, but I think she does. And she has this amazing ability to harmonize. She knows the different, the sopranos, the altos, and she knows how to do all this stuff. It's like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I even showed some of the music to Tom Araya, and he was like, wow, that's really good. He thought it was beautiful. It was great. And the songs were obviously very Nashville.
Yeah, very primitive too. Yeah. Just guitar vocals.
Yeah, guitar vocals, very Nashville style. Not so much country. It's just different, And I just call it Nashville. And so he was like, wow, that's really nice. He didn't expect that. And so, I always wanted to work with her, but she didn't want to have anything to do with it until pandemic.
Yeah, maybe then she couldn't deny anymore. But you've already hinted at it, Paula. Animal magnetism. Did he persuade you to do it, or did you also like the song before?
I did not want to do that song at all. It's so funny. He just in the middle of the night, we were hanging out, and he just all of a sudden, we have to cover this song. And he was going through his vinyl, and pulled out Scorpions and put the song on, and which I love, of course. And he said, we have to do this. And I said, no, I wouldn't even know how to approach that. That's, I was like, there's not a chance that I'm doing that. And I was also really enjoying that I was suddenly writing again. So I was a little hesitant to do a cover as well. But, that's an amazing song with such a unique vocal styling on it. And so how would I approach that? So Dave said, well, I want this sultry kind of vocal, and I hear an industrial vibe, and I hear Gary Holt playing on it, and he just had it all mapped.
I think I was even air drumming. I said, no, I want it like this. And then she was like, I don't know.
I was like, no.
Then the next day or next couple days, I'm jumping in the shower. I'm about to jump in the shower, and she's downstairs on the piano, and she starts playing this da 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 da, the rhythm of the song. I ran out, of the room.
In a towel.
In a towel.
Yep.
In a towel, okay, not naked. I ran out of the room in a towel, and I said, "Is that animal magnetism?" And she was like, "I think, yeah, you know." And so it developed from there. I said, "Let me open up a session." I quickly ran into the studio, opened up a session for her, and she immediately laid down her idea of what that would be. Mm-hmm. And then I came in, added the drums, structured it, and then she took over.
Yeah. And then we got the basic song done, and Dave, of course, his vision had Gary Holt in it, period. That there was no other name. And so he said, I have to send this to Gary just to see if we can complete this, to make it really happen. And because we still didn't know what we were going to do with it. And he sent it off to Gary. Gary loved it. He was like, hell yeah.
His wife loved it.
His wife loved it.
It was like, oh my God, I love this song.
Yeah, so that was our go-ahead.
That's what we've been noticing, is that Venamoris is becoming a kind of a conduit between wives that don't like metal and husbands that love metal. It's like, wow, okay, it's Lombardo, or vice versa. Oh, wow. Oh, it's Lombardo. Okay, he's metal. And then, okay, we'll listen to this voice. Oh, okay, I get it. So it's kind of cool. We're kind of bringing marriages together.
I'll try that one on the wife. Yes, I'll
there you go. Fingers crossed.
But otherwise, it seems like an affair of the heart, because you have several guests on the record. Not only have you Gary Holt, who some people might know from a few bands like Exodus or Slayer, but you also, for example, have Trevor Dunn. It's not about the people themselves. You've also already had very good collaborators on Drown in Motion. But how does that work? Like with Gary, you just described it, but with the other people, is it always a similar fashion? Like, okay, we have this song, and maybe, do you think there is something?
Yeah, well, what I do is I listen obviously to the song and what does it need? Who can give me what I need within, the boundaries of this song? And with Trevor, I played with him in many different instances, Bungle, Phantomas. I've done live improvisation shows with him and John Zorn. I know him and his playing very well, and I know what he's capable of. And I needed a multifaceted bass player that not only could play just regular bass, but also bass guitar, but also could play cello and arco strings. And that's what I needed for Stay With Me. So I hit him up. We gave him a rough outline of what we're hearing in the strings. And he came back with what you hear, and it was absolutely perfect. Mm-hmm. And same with Alex Skolnick. We needed someone with that kind of flamenco flair, that feeling, and the ability to be as creative as one can be. It's like, just go, just add your leads, do your stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm not giving you any boundaries. I'm giving you, doors to go through. And he came back and it was perfect. Ra Diaz, same thing, bass player. I played with him in Suicidal Tendencies, and now he's in Korn. And he's a phenomenal bass player. Mm-hmm. And he can give me musically what we need within the song boundaries.
So, interestingly, you, Paula, gave Dave carte blanche, like free permission to do whatever he wants to, basically. And he does the same with these other musicians. Do you then talk about it, or is that really something where you trust your husband so completely that you say, okay, whatever you do, that's okay?
Yeah, I absolutely trust Dave when he makes these choices. I think he knows these guys so well, and they've spent, like, for example, I think Alex would be the best one. They spent hours on tour talking about their various musical
influences, jazz influences, Latin jazz, avant-garde influences.
Yeah, so I think that between performing together and then these really in-depth conversations that they have, Alex going out, buying a guitar somewhere in Spain, bringing it back, showing it to Dave, what it can do, how it sounds. I think all that just helps Dave kind of really formulate like, hey, this guy would be perfect. And plus he has, I guess, an affinity for that style or whatever. So I think that, yeah, I trust Dave completely with that.
Yeah.
And I'm just honestly thrilled to have any of these guys work with us on Venamoris. I mean, it's just such an honor for me,
Yeah, like Paula mentioned with Alex, while we were on tour in Spain during that really long tour I had gone with, it was like 6 weeks, 5-6 weeks. He had stopped in Seville, Spain, and bought himself this really nice little guitar. It wasn't a traditional large guitar. It was kind of small, but it had a beautiful full sound. It was really nice, and that was one of the reasons I said, "Can you please use that guitar on these songs for Burnt Paper and Stain of Pain?" And he did.
Last thing before we go into the infamous quickfire round at every Veil of Sound interview is ending, I have to ask one thing about the cover artwork for both records. Both, at least it seems to stupid little me, both seem to show us a way where the Venamoris, the vein that goes from the left hand to the heart, supposedly, where the Venamoris basically flourishes into flowers. Is that an intention, or is that just my interpretation?
It's your intention. It was, your interpretation. It wasn't intentional.
It's kind of interesting. We sent the album to Hung Hung, who did the artwork, and the first album, she just said, "This is what I see." We just wanted something kind of delicate, and it was just interesting using a bleeding heart flower, and not only for what that just sounds like, but also she didn't know this, but I remember my mom years ago, that was her favorite flower, and my mom used to always point them out to me and that kind of thing. So it was very special, and I decided right away, like, yes, we're going that way. For the second one, all I said was, I just see roots. I feel like I want growth. I want something that represents sort of growth. And I think that that's kind of where she went with that. But that's the only direction we gave. So
yeah, there wasn't much. It's almost like she kind of knows us or knows the music, especially with the last record. There's a photograph that Paula took while I was gone, and it was like branches of a tree hitting a wall on the side of the house. And that image, she said, maybe something like this. And we didn't send it to the artist. And, sure enough, she comes back with these, filigrees and everything. I kind of resembled the photograph that she took.
Yeah. And the same thing happens with the videos. The gentleman that we work with, he's brilliant. And he has worked with us since the beginning. And Displaced Replaced is
Andy Wallace. He's done great.
And he'll send us like a little 20-second, hey, what do you think? And it always is exactly where we need it to be. So we've been very lucky with musicians and all these creatives in our world. We're just letting them create, and it just always hits the mark. So it's really fun not to have to dictate everything, and and let them have some freedom with it as well. It's really cool.
That sounds like a really good way of working, because it sounds very natural.
Yeah.
However, nobody leaves a Veil of Sound interview without having to go through the infamous quickfire round at the end. I will always give both of you a couple, and you have to choose. So let's start with Mr. Metal here. I'll give you 2 Scorpions records to choose from. Blackout versus Virgin Killer.
Blackout.
Can you say why?
Because that was one of the records that I really got into. God, I must have been in high school. I don't know what year that could have been. Probably, 83, 82. And
82.
82. Yeah. And that's, I was in high school, and I loved that record. It was so heavy. The sound was great. It was ahead of its time. Songwriting it's perfect. The leads, Klaus Meine, his vocals, he was at his peak, performance there.
Well, for a lot of Germans like me, it's like Klaus Meine. We always hear like, but okay. I guess that people overseas hear him differently than we do. But anyway, Paula, I also got a couple for you, and I was thinking of good piano players, and I chose two of my favorites. Billy Joel versus Elton John.
Oh man.
Oh.
That's hard.
I never said it would be easy.
No. Oh, geez.
Well.
Let me think. I'm going to go with Elton John. I don't know why. I'm going to go with Elton John. Mm-hmm. And that's such a hard. I hate that question so much. I just need to tell you.
Goal achieved.
Yeah, there we go. There it is. Because I can make arguments for both, but I'll just say Elton John. That's it.
So now to lure Mr. Metal away a little bit, OMD versus Enya. Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark versus Enya.
I'm sorry, but I don't know anything from OMD. So I would go with Enya because it's very, spacey and, ambient. Mm-hmm. Gonna have to go with Enya.
Okay. You surely know one OMD track without knowing that it's OMD. That's this Joan of Arc. That is OMD. It's one of those classic 80s synth pop stuff things.
Really?
Anyway.
Okay. I'm gonna look them
up. Paula, for you, Elvis versus Johnny.
Johnny Cash?
Yes, of course. Elvis Presley versus Johnny Cash.
I mean, I love Elvis.
Two people who started on the same label.
Yeah, I go Johnny Cash. I love him. There's 3 chords in the truth. You know what I mean? Man in Black. He's amazing. And I grew up with that. I grew up listening. My earliest sounds that I remember, Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson. So always Johnny Cash. But I do love Elvis. And I know one of his lead backup singers. And so I learned a lot from her as well. So, special place for Elvis, but Johnny wins that one.
And now one for both of you. Nobody will see it because we're only publishing audio, but it has to do with the name that I saw on the screen when they entered the video interview. Sparks versus Pet Shop Boys.
I have no idea. I didn't listen to either. We're both like, huh.
Yeah.
Let's see. Johnny Cash?
That's definitely the better choice. So, Paula, Dave, thanks for your time. Thanks for the wonderful music. And I'm already looking forward to record number 3. So,
thank you.
Thanks for that.
Coming soon.
Thank you so much.
All right, man.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.